Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at a tactical combat game in which knowing which units to attack with is important, but so is when you attack with those units. I am talking, of course, about Monolith Arena. Right off the bat, I want to say that this game, Monolith Arena, is based on Neuroshima Hex. And in fact, it's not just based on, it's very, very close to Neuroshima Hex. You could even say it's a reskin, though the armies included in that game's base box are not the ones included in this game's base box. And of course, there is a different theme here. There are concepts at play here that were not in the original game, all right? But they are very close. So if you know how to play that game, my overview is going to seem perhaps a bit redundant, except for when I talk about monoliths and when I talk about multiplayer play. I'm going to give you a look at how the game goes. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of this one. Here I'm going to be taking a look at the 2-player game, but later on I'll be telling you some of the minor differences for 3 and 4-player games. Alright, so to begin, each player is going to pick one of the 4 factions here. So, if I want to be Harbingers of the Forest, I am going to take all of their tiles, made up of their heroes and their runes and their action tiles, shuffle those up. I'm also going to take the banner. This is a double-sided piece, the first piece that goes on the board. And then if I am playing with the Monolith variant, I guess you could think of it, then I will take these as well. I'm going to leave these aside for a second. I'll tell you how these work in just a minute. So the 2 players would pick an army, and then you are ready to begin. Here we are a few turns into the game with the aforementioned Harbingers of the Forest and the Lords of the Abyss over here. It is the green player's turn. There have been a few placements and a few battles, and now this player is going to take a turn. So on your turn, normally, you are going to draw 3 tiles, you are going to reveal those tiles, and then you are going to discard one and do one of a few things with the other 2 tiles. You can discard them as well if you're not interested in placing them or using them. You may place them on the board if they are board tiles. You may discard them to do the action on them, or you can save them in front of you, and then next turn, instead of drawing 3, you'll draw up to 3 if you kept some of those. So the green player here drew a couple of different units and 1 action tile. This one lets them move someone already on the board, and they're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then the other 2 are board tiles, a part of their army. This character here has in one direction an attack that is a special attack, has a lightning bolt there. What that means is whoever this is pointing at, when there is combat, is going to eliminate that unit and itself before anything else happens. So very strong. And then this one here happens to have 2 different directions in which it's going to do a ranged attack as far as it wants, all the way across the board to hit the first enemy thing. And it has a speed below that in this shield right there. Once these things get into a fight, we are going to figure out what the fastest thing on the board is. All of those will fight. Then the next number below that, those will fight, and so on until combat has been completely resolved. So, we're going to do that. And then it would be the red player's turn. So the red player could draw 3, again get rid of 1, and either utilize, save, or place the other one. So let's say that red has taken a turn already. Let me go ahead and put a couple of units into play here for them. They'll put that there, and they'll put this one right there. And then the green player goes and they draw a combat tile. Let's see if I can find myself a combat tile here. It looks just like that. If that's one that you trigger, you start a combat. And like I said, you figure out what the fastest thing on the board is. In this case, these 2 guys over here have speed 1, but they're being boosted at +2. So they're actually speed 3. They're the fastest thing on the board right now. But this happens first. This one eliminates this one. They both go away. Then speed 3. These are special guys. They get to attack anywhere on the board. So they're going to go ahead and put 1 damage on this one. and the other one is going to put 1 damage on this one. Very strong. Both of these only take 1 hit to be eliminated, therefore they are removed from the board as well. Then we check the next lowest speed. That was 3. We check speed 2. This is speed 2. Shoots over here, eliminates this one. Also shoots this way, but doesn't matter. Then speed 1. There is nothing left on the board at speed 1. And then speed 0, which are the bases normally, but they don't have any enemies around them. Normally they hit in every direction. They also have a special ability, each of the bases in the game. And that's it for combat. Then the next player will go. This continues with the players tracking hits to their banners here on this track on the outside until either both players have, one player has depleted their deck, the other player gets 1 more go, or someone gets fully defeated all the way down to 0 on their banner strength, then that player loses. Otherwise, if the game comes down to running out of tiles, whoever has the least amount of health remaining is going to be, of course, the loser. The other player wins the game. That's largely it. Let me explain how the the monoliths work. So, for the monoliths, at the beginning of the game, you are going to grab these 3 pieces. You'll go through your entire deck of tiles here, your entire stack, and pick which ones you'd like to put into your monolith. Now, one of them is going to have your banner, your main strength, right? Your stronghold, if you would. And then the other 2 can have whatever you want. So you can have a one of these rune tiles, rather, or you can have one of your soldiers in there, like that. The opponent will not know this at the beginning of the game, but you're going to go ahead and stack them up like that. And the opponent will do the same thing with their 3. And then you play the game normally with the players drawing, placing units on the board, etc. However, the difference is, on any turn, you may, once you've drawn your 3, once you've discarded your 1 tile, you can, instead of playing anything on the board, you can deploy your monolith. You are going to leave the banner where it is, but the other 2 can go anywhere you want as long as they are adjacent to at least 1 other tile of the monolith. And these can be rotated freely. And so you've just deployed some units. Once combat happens, this is going to fold up again. You are going to once again grab these and tuck them under the original tile there. But things might die. So if this one dies, this might stay empty. In fact, if it dies during combat, it will stay empty, and this will be collected back under here. But later on, if you do deploy it, you may, even though I said you couldn't play tiles that turn onto the board, you can play tiles just into the monolith only. And so you could do that later on, deploy something into your monolith when you deploy that out. All right? And that's largely it. So it's a way for you to have a surprise at the beginning, also be able to have a few units that show up, or runes that show up on the board in a surprising manner. If you have a turn that you'd rather do that than play some units from your hand, you could do that. And it's going to affect the game in different ways. Not just based on what you did, but when you do it. Besides that, you are going to have a 3-player mode and a 4-player mode. The 3-player mode is 2 players versus 1, with the players alternating. The 2 players playing together will take turns alternating always with the 3rd solitaire, the player that's playing on their own. And then in a 4-player mode, you are going to play on teams of 2, with you attacking only your enemies and trying to defeat that team, trying to defeat someone on that side. So that's largely the game. That's everything that there is to see in here. So here's what an army would look like. You've got your monolith and all of the units right there for the 4 of them. So let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. All right, so there it is. Let's talk about it. As I'm going through these things, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and compare them when applicable to what I think of Neuroshima Hex. And spoiler alert, that game is fantastic, and it's easily in my top 100 for me. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This is going to be a positive review. I'll just let you know right now. Let's start with the theme here. This is fantasy. I like, myself, the post-apocalyptic theme better than fantasy, but I will say this. The armies in this are right off the bat more distinct than they are in Neuroshima Hex out of the box. Now, Neuroshima Hex has had a bunch of expansions and have explored a lot of different things, but they are all post-apocalyptic things, possibilities there. In this one, I can already see the promise of so many places they can go. And the 4 armies in here are inspired by different pieces from different armies for Neuroshima Hex. That's good, because they feel more distinct right out of the bat. And they add a couple of new things as well. It's not just, cutting and pasting pieces from other armies in the original game. There are new concepts here as well, but largely, if you're, well-versed with Neuroshima Hex, you'll see, this is kind of like this army meets this army. It's some sort of combination of that. So, right off the bat, the theme I find slightly less interesting, but the armies push it up. The aesthetics in this game are fantastic. The board is very nice. The tiles are large, well illustrated. I like the monolith pieces. They are very well sculpted. They work. I like the player aids. Are gorgeous. They are just the way they've been printed is very attractive and handy and useful, So from a production point of view, this one is spectacular, and I think better than the original game, than Neuroshima Hex. Replayability. There are tons of tactics here. The multiplayer ways of playing this with 3 players, 4 players, I think are better than Neuroshima Hex. That game I pretty much play solely 2 players. This one does a better job. Now, I prefer 2 players still, but it does do an interesting job of playing 3, playing 4, in my opinion. Game length here is good, but it was good in the first game also, to be honest, so I don't have a problem. I don't think the game outstays its welcome whatsoever. It's going to be tactically engaging. There's going to be ups and downs, even though it's just about 30 minutes. So that's nice. As far as how easy the games are to play, in this one they went through the trouble of giving you a couple of things to help you decipher how combat plays out, which is a little bit tricky. They give you the shields in this one, a little pile of tokens you saw there at the bottom. Those you get to add to the units on the board in case their speed has been modified, so that you don't get tripped up, so that you don't mess up the way in which everything should be firing and the order in which everything should be firing. So I appreciate that. Especially for newer players, that's going to be a nice aid, and so I think that's a good inclusion. Lastly, strategy and tactics here are at least on par with the original game. Perhaps a little higher because the armies are a little more diverse, as I said. I really like this game. I think it's fantastically made. Production value here is fantastic. Really, it's an incredibly well put together. You can feel that a lot of care went into this, and I appreciate that. And I find this theme, I think it's going to have mass appeal, or at least a wider appeal than specifically post-apocalyptic sci-fi, which is not just science fiction, but a subset of that, right? Here they're going to be able to go, and I'm hoping they do anyway, to a lot of different fantasy places. Already we've got demons, and we've got the pretty standard sort of mounted units, that army, but then you've got these forest creatures, and there's so much that can be explored that I'm excited for the future of the game. I'm excited for this. I think this is a great place to begin, especially if you've never played Neuroshima Hex, but I'm excited for the future as well. So I guess the main question here, and I'm not sure I have an answer for it honestly, is if you already own Neuroshima Hex, do you need this game? That's obviously up to you. I don't know if I can help there. If this theme appeals to you much more than the other theme, I would say that's a no-brainer. It's at least as good, if not better, than Neuroshima Hex, right? Out of the box, right? If you're very, very invested in the original game and you like that theme better, then perhaps this is a wait and see. The main innovation here is the monolith concept itself, and while I think it's great, I don't know if you you need to own both games, But if you've got the choice right now, and this theme, you're looking at it, you're going, ooh, that looks like a nice production, and I do like fantasy, this is a no-brainer, folks. This is stellar, really. This is going to get a seal of excellence from me. Monolith Arena takes something I already loved, re-implements it, makes it prettier, makes it punchier, and I cannot wait for the future of this line, you know. So again, seal of excellence from me, Monolith Arena. I appreciate you checking this out, this review. I'm going to see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.